Welcome to week 15 of our Composition 1 class. Uh, my apologies for getting this video out a day later than I normally do. Yesterday, Monday, was pretty hectic. I didn't have time to make it, but hopefully you still find this useful. So this week you are going to make a mock-up or storyboard to help you plan and produce your remix. And you'll also get a start on the rhetorical reflection portion of the assignment as well. And one tip that I have for you is don't get too hung up on the artistic or technical qualities of your remix. Because you're not really going to be graded on like art or how well you can use the technology. Instead, focus on getting a message across to a specific audience. Try to think critically about how to best meet the audience's needs. Task 15.1 are some readings from your textbook. First of all, I would like you to read chapter 58, which is on designing text. So this addresses, how to incorporate, various media into a text, what to do about like layout and things like that, which is more so than your previous project, going to be important for this last project. And then you should also check out the section on using visuals and incorporating sound, which is also in chapter 58. Then I would review the chapters on rhetorical situation. We have covered these concepts before. We bring them up periodically throughout the class. So you shouldn't need to reread the chapters, but maybe just glance over them to remind yourself of what rhetorical situation actually is. Task 15.2, you're going to be experimenting with multimedia tools. Here are a list of a bunch of free tools that might be useful for you creating your remix. Feel free to experiment and play around with them. Figure out if there's something here that you like. I will say that these are tools that I have gathered from like my colleagues. There are a lot of these that I have not used myself. Like I think way back in the day, I made a Weebly. I've made a Prezi before, um, but that really might be it. So if you want to use one of these things, you're certainly welcome to, but I probably will not be able to help you out with it very much because these are just, these are things that I've found but have not necessarily used. For task 15.3, you should consider your rhetorical situation. First of all, begin by reviewing the material in the rhetorical situations portion in the field guide if you haven't already. And pay particular attention to the thinking about questions at the end of each chapter. Then I'd like you to jot down some notes about your purpose, audience, genre, stance, and media and design for your remix. Write out ideas about how each element will influence your creation. And then for number 2, look online or elsewhere for examples of the genre you wish to compose in. So for example, if you're thinking about creating an infographic, find examples of infographics online that seem effective to you. Spend some time studying the genre and thinking about what the key features are. So if you're making a podcast, what are some common features of a podcast? If you're making an infographic, what do most infographics do? Things like that. Once you have sort of studied the genre that you plan on using, jot down some notes about the examples you looked at. What were the examples specifically? What did you notice about them as a genre? How will you make use of the genre features in your own remixed composition? For task 15.4, you're going to create a mock-up, storyboard, or other pre-production work. There are two ways you could plan out your work. First of all, you could mock up. If you're planning a still project, something that doesn't involve movement or sound, I would create a mock up. When you make a mock up, you basically sketch out your ideas for your project, not worrying about the artistic quality. You can use the attached mock up grid if you want. We have that right here, mock up template. If you want, try to sketch out the parts or scenes of your project. And then number two, you could create a storyboard. If you're planning a project that involves sound, movement, or voiceover, create a storyboard. The storyboard lets you write out a script for the narration or other sounds that you might be incorporating, and then make notes or sketches for any images as well. And there is a storyboard template here as well. For a storyboard example, you can look at the storyboard that is attached right here. For task 15.5, you're going to make your Wednesday discussion board post. In this post, I'd like you to summarize for your peers your current ideas and plans for your remix. What do you plan to create? And what is the purpose, audience, stance, medium? And then next, post your mock-up or storyboard for your peers to see. It's okay if it feels like a very rough draft. Finally, list 2 to 3 questions or concerns that you'd like your peers' feedback on in relation to your project. For task 15.6, you're going to create your remix and rhetorical reflection. And again, don't forget that your remix isn't being graded on artistic merit. Instead, the whole of your work, both parts 1 and 2, will be evaluated based on the grading rubric that we have been using. You can see the Writing Project 4 description for more info on that. So I would concern yourself less with the pieces like artistic or technical perfection, and be more attentive to if you are conveying your message, if the points that you're making are going to be easily understood by your audience. If you run into struggles, be creative. If you're shooting a video, for example, build any props you need using what you have around you. If you get stuck, reach out to your peers and instructor for advice. You don't have to finish your remix this week, but I would recommend getting a pretty good start on it. It's also a good idea to do at least a little bit of drafting for part 2, the rhetorical reflection. For task 15.7, you're going to make your Friday discussion board posts. What I'd like you to do for this is to read through your classmates' posts and write responses to at least 2 of them. You can write in general about what you like about their ideas or what suggestions you have. You can also respond to the questions they raised in their Wednesday posts. And then for your weekly work this week, you're going to submit everything that you produced in response to tasks 15.3 and 15.4, which are your rhetorical notes and your mock-up or storyboard. That is it for this week. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, or if there's something you think I can help you with.